Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to this new episode. Last week, I recorded an episode on relationships at work and the 4 relationship types that influence how things get done. So, as a reminder, strategic relationships, which help with long-term positioning and the direction of your career. Operational relationships, so that's helping you get your work done. Political relationships, which are all about influence and how decisions are made and interpreted. And trust relationships, which are building relationships that are with somebody who will give you a honest, candid perspective. And today, what I want to do is go deeper into a situation that I have had, I would say, with a couple of my clients recently around promotions. And these people absolutely wanted a promotion and didn't get it, or I'm going to say didn't get it yet. And so today's episode is all about why very capable people don't get promoted, but from the point of view of relationships. And so I'm going to give you food for thought. It's also going to be pretty direct because I feel very, very strongly about this topic. So, a little bit about the situation. Just going to talk about what I'm seeing. I see leaders who are credible, who are delivering outcomes, who are hitting their targets, and a lot of times who are already performing or operating at that next level up. And I'm talking about very senior people, so director, VP, SVP level. But when we look closely, there is a pattern of people where execution is really strong. They are excellent at their jobs. They have very high expertise. They're often right. People often like them. But politically, they're underpositioned. And I'm not talking about manipulation because I don't believe in that. I 100% believe in building authentic relationships. But what I'm seeing here in these situations is that these individuals, there's a limited read or limited understanding of how decisions are formed, how decisions are validated in large organizations. And so in both of these cases, performance was absolutely not the issue. The issue was that no one with influence was actively backing them. So I want you to think about this, and then I'm going to also give you 5 points on things that you can think about and how to address this. But first of all, I just want to reframe your thinking around promotions. Promotion, it is not a reward for good work. I'm going to say that again. A promotion is not a reward for doing good work. It is, and this is pretty direct, it is a group decision. Having somebody get promoted is a decision made by several individuals. And I'm talking, of course, at high levels in an organization. And that decision is made through relationships. Who trusts you? Who knows you? Who is willing to back you? And many senior leaders misread this because they think that if they're doing their job well, that is enough. But in very senior roles, performance is expected. And what matters, and it is going to help you get promoted, is alignment. And if you ignore that, it is not because you're being, you have integrity, you are going to be exposed. You need to be aligning. And briefly, I'll just touch on my case. When I came in to one of my jobs in the past, I came in leading Europe. And very quickly, I knew that that wasn't going to be enough for me. And so I identified who are going to be the people that are going to influence that decision. It will be up to whom if I move the next level up. That is the question to ask. So in this situation, there's usually a gap that sits, there are political relationships, so influence, and also a gap with some strategic relationships over time. So I want to take you through five things that will make a difference in you getting promoted quicker rather than later. The first one, go from being right to being supported. I see people wanting to be right all the time, and they have very strong principles. You may be right. You may be defending your position. You may be making the right call, but I'm sorry, that is not what gets you promoted. Support does. Promotion decisions at a very senior level require advocacy. Who is advocating for you when decisions and these kinds of promotions are being discussed? Who is bringing your name into the conversation? Who is willing to back you up with specific examples? And more importantly, or just as importantly, I would say, who is not saying anything at all? Because silence, it's not neutral. Okay, it means that something is off. The second point that I'd like you to think about, I'd like you to move from being visible, which is super important. Okay, visibility is important. Visibility is absolutely not vanity. I want you to move from being visible to being relevant. You may be visible. People may know who you are, but being visible without being relevant, that won't help you advance. So the questions that I'd love for you to ask yourself is, are you visible to the people who influence the decision? Is your work relevant to what they are trying to achieve? Who connects your work, so the work that you're doing on a daily basis, to their priorities? Who sees you as part of the solution to their objectives? And where are you visible, but it has no impact on the decision? So a lot of times people can think, I'm visible, people know me, they know what I deliver, they know that I'm capable, they know that I always hit my goals. So that can create a false sense of security. But I really want you to think visibility and relevance. My third point is from individual performance to collective alignment. So you may focus on your results, what you deliver, the quality, the consistency, and of course, that's expected. But what will differentiate you is like how you work with the other people. Are you creating alignment across teams, or do you introduce friction? People want to work with people who get things done and who are easy to work with. When you enter into a discussion, are you accelerating the alignment or slowing it down? Do people actively involve you in a complex situation, or do they work around you? So if you deliver strong results, but you are creating friction, then you can be seen as a risk at the next level. And risk, a lot of times, companies want to avoid risk. My fourth point, and I always suggest this, the second you start a new job, you should be thinking about your next one. Where do you want to go in the organization? Because you need to start building relationships early and in advance. When you need something and you start engaging at that point in time, it is too late. By the time a promotion or even an opportunity is being discussed, most people who have a say, they already have an opinion. So if there's no foundation to you having a relationship with those people at that point, then you are not being considered. You are not in the consideration set. You are being evaluated on either limited interactions, assumptions, maybe some partial perception. So building a relationship before you need it is key. It doesn't have to be intense, but it does have to be regular and consistent so that people see how you think, how you interact with others, how you operate under pressure, how you handle complexity. And so when your name comes up for an opportunity, there is no ambiguity. You are a known quantity or known quality. You are a reassuring choice. Let's put it that way. And my fifth point that I would love to encourage you to think about is do not avoid politics. Politics is not manipulation. It is how decisions move through an organization. So I want you to think about from avoiding politics to understanding how influence is happening in your company. At senior levels, you are already in politics. The only question is, I'd like to challenge you, is whether you understand how it works. And if you stay out of it, you are not neutral. Most people think they are. You are absent. And you can be very authentic when it comes to politics. It is about influencing authentically. So when you are absent from the political scene in your company, there is a gap and other people are going to fill the narrative. And so by the time that a formal meeting happens and there's a discussion around somebody getting a new position or a new opportunity, if you were not part of the earlier conversations, then you are not shaping those outcomes. And this is reputational exposure is what it comes down to. And I really want you to think about who you need to be building relationships with early on. When I came in and took on a job, there was a global position that I wanted. I wanted to work for that team. I wanted to work for the person heading that team. It was very prestigious, very well considered within the company. And I knew the person making the decision was, yes, the person in that's heading that team, but it was also the CEO of the company. So if I'm thinking 3 to 5 years out, I want to be part of that team, it's not 6 months ahead of time that I'm going to start to be visible and building relationships. I knew that the CEO had to sign off. And so it's building those relationships, managing my reputation, and managing how I was perceived 3 or 4 years ahead of time. So the question is simple, is do you understand how influence works in the environment of your company? Where are the decisions made, shaped? Who influences them? And are you in those conversations? So if you take one question away from this, if the decision about your promotion, your title change, your change of level, your new salary, your new opportunity, if that decision was made tomorrow, Who would actively support it and why? Because that is what determines the outcome. It's not the quality of the work. It's who knows your work well enough to represent it accurately. Who trusts your judgment to put their credibility behind you. Where are you still relying on your work to speak for itself? So that's what I wanted to share today. That was a little bit of tough love, but I want men and women to move up. It is scary, but taking on new opportunities, raising your hand, getting that promotion, making more money, that is the most exciting thing. Just all of those learning opportunities for personal and professional development. So exciting. So we are going to continue to break down some of these situations over the next few weeks, because if there is one thing that I have learned after 28 years in corporate and 3 years coaching executives, it's relationships matter. Have a great day, everyone. We'll talk soon.